This city was left to die. An 80-kilometer steel wall stands tall. The massive walls crushed all survival hopes. Any survivor attempting to flee the city they will face ruthless targeted execution. The surviving residents lost all human decency. Within only 27 years, they descended into cannibalism. The origin of all this chaos. It started with a deadly viral plague. The story began in Glasgow back in 2008. A deadly virus spread silently among the people. The infected would rot from within in just 72 hours. Victims turned violently aggressive beyond control. Within just 7 days, the death count had already exceeded 5,000. Facing this sudden and terrible disaster, the government resorted to extreme measures. Authorities built a 30-meter steel wall. They built a 30-meter steel wall around the city. Armed towers stand guard. Patrols run non-stop around the clock. Any bird crossing the border would be shot immediately. This strict lockdown was absolute. Less a quarantine measure. It felt more like sentencing the whole city to death. The trapped people sensed their inevitable doom. They charged the barricades non-stop. A young mother held her injured daughter tightly, rushed the evacuation chopper. She knelt begging for long minutes. Her pleas touched a soldier at last. She gave up her evacuation spot. The girl could flee instead. Farewell moment. The mother slipped an envelope with their address into her daughter's hand. She still dreamed of their reunion. That one day, they would be reunited. But as the walls finally sealed shut, the quarantine zone's residents were left behind for good. They fought not just the deadly virus, but also guard against each other's looting. Human civilization slowly yielded to primal survival instincts. 20-7 years passed in a flash. The girl your eye from those days had become an elite in the special forces. Her childhood minus lost right eye, now equipped with a high-tech prosthetic eye. Her advance had provided key advantages during missions. That envelope with her mother's address, it was always a knot in her heart. Eve had nearly forgotten her mother's face. The towering steel wall, the relentless wall steadily eroded her hope. Wilson, her superior, had no need since she was a child. He softly gave her comfort. You will see your mother again. They never expected this moment. Their chance to enter the quarantine zone was near. The military launched a raid operation. They stumbled upon a dozen strange infected people. The symptoms matched the virus from 27 years ago exactly. This discovery sent top officials into unprecedented panic. The PM urgently summoned General Wilson that night. In a top-minus secret meeting room, he dropped a shocking bombshell. The government had secretly monitored the quarantine zone all along. But the real surprise was, tens of thousands still survived inside the zone. Somehow they'd adapted to live with the virus. This holds the key to ending the viral outbreak. The PM tasked Wilson with sending a team to the zone, seek a way to cure this virus. The general knew just who to send. His most trusted operative was E. Before departure, a consortium leader briefed T. Dr. Kane is a biologist in the quarantine zone. He was studying the virus before the walls went up. If there's an antibody in the zone, it's almost certainly connected to it.
Che succede se non trovo niente?
Può non prendersi il disturbo di tornare.
3 hours up, E's plane reached the outer quarantine wall. Her team had already taken positions. All were elite specialists. The military equipped them with state-of-the-art weaponry and gear, including nano-fiber vests to protect against infected bites. But Ede was unaware of the truth. Behind the wall awaited their hardest test. This would be their toughest survival challenge so far. The armored vehicle plowed through the quarantine zone gates. Ede and her team held their breath in silent dread. A desolate wasteland of ruin unfolded before their eyes. The streets were strewn with bleached bones. Vines had overgrown the abandoned cars. Buildings crumbled under read numbers scrawled across their walls. The numbers counted those who waited for help. No miracle arrived to save them in the end. They had to act quickly to succeed. Eli decided to prioritize locating Drive, Kane's laboratory. The virologist and their team knew of Kane. They figured if Kane was still alive, there was only one place he'd be. Their armored vehicle raced to City Center Hospital. He deployed her team to sweep the area. Abandoned supplies cluttered the hallway. An eerie silence suggested long abandonment. The soldier left behind at the armored vehicle. The guard spotted a weakened woman. She defied orders and helped the woman onto the armored vehicle. The team inside the hospital. The squad was ambushed by survivors. Despite their rudimentary weapons, they fought fearlessly. As their numbers swelled, Ede was forced to pull her team back. She quickly radioed the armored vehicles for immediate support. To their dismay, both armored vehicles were ambushed as well. The survivors had meticulously planned this attack. They'd even stockpiled Molotov vests for the armored vehicles. As the lone soldier concentrated on driving, the girl he'd rescued crept up behind him and cut the soldier's throat with a blade. The dying soldier pulled a grenade pin, blowing them both apart. The first armored vehicle was wrecked. Ede and her team fought fiercely while retreating. After several teammates fell, they finally escaped the hospital and scrambled into the second armored vehicle. The moment the vehicle surfaced, a crossbow bolt from above pierced the driver's throat. The armored vehicle careened off the road. They jumped out, guns blazing at the attackers. Despite their intense firepower, they were overwhelmed by the survivors' suicidal charge. 2 team members escaped in the chaos. Ede and his companions were forced to surrender their weapons, taken captive by the brutal survivors.
Queste persone
Saul, their leader, hoisted Eid up with heavy chains as punishment. They tortured him to reveal his origins. He wondered where all this advanced gear came from. He also wanted to know Eid's true allegiance. But when Eid said she came from outside the walls, Saul reacted with intense emotion. Dr. Kane had been lying to them all these years. Nothing beyond the wall. It is not worth exploring. Saul always yearned for the world beyond the walls. He wondered if Eid could come in from outside. She could definitely get me out of here. Saul made the choice to spare Eid's life. She was his ticket to the outside world. Her teammates, however, were not as fortunate. These survivors managed to live without electricity, yet their nights were far from dull. They had amazing acrobatics, traditional iron-flower displays, and even human flesh barbecues. The captured men knew what awaited them. They hurled curses at the barbarians. Despite their desperate efforts, their desperate cries vanished into the flames. Meanwhile, Eid plotted her escape from the cell. The guard served a plate of grilled meat, letting her taste her fallen ally. Eid seized the moment, baiting the guard closer. She overpowered him, demanding he unlock the cell. Another guard was examining the stolen watch in his hand. I knocked him out before he could react. With all threats neutralized, she was making her escape. A voice from the next cell stopped her. My name isn't, she said. She's Drive, Kane's daughter. Eid paused in thought. She decided to help her escape. Just at that moment, Saul's girlfriend intercepted them. Her experience clearly marked her as a veteran fighter. Against a seasoned operative like Eid, they stood no chance. Eid swiftly defeated them in the end. When Saul reached the prison, Eid and Anna had vanished without a trace. She swore she would never let them escape. Meanwhile, Eid had reached out to her to escape teammates. Unfortunately, their condition was no better. Saul's men were relentlessly pursuing them on the road. Eli was far luckier than the others. The pair met Anna's allies along the way. She had a train ready at the platform for their getaway. Eid quickly relayed the news to her teammates. Saul was hot on their heels and closing fast. Anna had to depart ahead of schedule. Eid felt a surge of panic. She leapt off to help them. Not until both companions were out of danger. Then she boarded the train unescaped. Saul watched helplessly as they left. He roared with bitter frustration. Anna told everyone the truth on the train. She was able to help Eid locate Kane, but she didn't want to face her father. Dr. Kane, lead another powerful faction in the quarantine zone. Saul, the leader they just met, was actually Kane's son. He went along to explore outside the walls, but Kane firmly stood in his way. The father and son split up that day. Anna went to find her brother. She wanted to persuade him to apologize to Dad. Her brother took her captive. While they talked, the train reached a remote mountainside, and they guided them through an underground tunnel. The tunnel stored vast supplies. Clearly someone had gathered these supplies. Beyond the tunnel, they entered a thick forest, and suddenly sensed something was wrong. Anna shouted for Eid to run now, yet Eid chose to stay behind. She believed this was the fastest way to reach Kane. Anna was also captured in the pursuit. They were all escorted to Kane's castle together. When they met the former science doctor, he pressed for answers immediately. How could they survive till now? Is this the vaccine he developed? Kane responded with a chilling laugh instead. There never was a vaccine. They survived this law because they're naturally immune. This is the natural law of survival of the fittest. He was baffled by Kane's unexpected change. A biologist with a PhD should never speak this way. Kane spoke in angry tones. When the government made the call to build the wall, our fate was decided at that moment. He refused to let outsiders threaten his power. Staying here as a local ruler suited him perfectly well. To prevent information leaks, Kane sentenced Eid to death. Eid believed her fate was sealed, but Kane had a different execution plan. It was actually a medieval-style duel for her, but the odds were stacked against her. The mismatch was glaring. Kane had planned this as entertainment for his men, yet Eid cleverly took advantage of the opening. She dodged the attacks with agile moves. As the enemy caught their breath, Eid vaulted onto the stands and snatched a weapon. She relied on nimble footwork to win. She slew the executioner instead. Kane flew into a violent rage. He ordered Eid shot on sight, but at that very moment, a massive explosion rocked the castle. It was Eid's own squad. They fled captivity too, taking down guards as they went. They fought hard while causing great chaos. They freed Eid from her captors. They carved a bloody path forward. They regrouped at the castle gates. They commandeered horses and fled. Kane was furious and fuming with rage. He mobilized all forces to pursue them. Fleeing, Eid remembered the supply on Ina's stockbunk. They arrived to find an unexpected bonus. Inside the cave gleamed a pristine sports car. Eid's team was fueling the car, while scavenging for supplies. Unbeknownst to them, Kane's men were closing in. When Eid's teammates stayed behind, an arrow felled him in heroic sacrifice. Fighting back tears, Eid sped the sports car from the bunker. With their powerful engine roar, they finally broke free from Kane's stronghold. They were safe at last. Eli used a salvage phone to call his superior Wilson. She told him she discovered a survivor with immunity. Wilson spoke in a low and somber tone. Eid had only just entered the quarantine zone. The epidemic, it spread across London. The outbreak grew worse under manipulation, all in just a few days. The Ian's office was also overrun. An infected person went on a rampage inside the office. Wilson shot just in time. He shot it dead. Blood sprayed onto the Prime Minister's face. The boss saw his opening. He ditched the Prime Minister. Seeing no way out, the Prime Minister drew his gun. The consortium leaders swiftly rose to absolute power. Word spread that Ede had found an immune one. She was overwhelmed with excitement. She headed to the quarantine zone herself. Ede had just managed to shake off Kane. Sol intercepted her abruptly. Cars gave chase to the sports car. Sol tilted her in the modified convertible with determination. To show her fearless spirit, she boldly leapt onto the nearby sports car. Eli maneuvered the car while evading Sol's advances. Just as she tried to move forward, a bus suddenly blocked her way. She had no way out at this critical moment. She floored the pedal and rammed into it. The bus was cleaved in two. Sol on the roof was cut down mercilessly. The only survivor, met the consortium boss at last. Anna's blood, the immune carrier, could be the key to developing the antiviral serum. The boss grinned in delight. He admitted no rush to develop the vaccine. Humanity must face utter despair. Only then would his serum prove its worth. He heard these words. She instantly realized the London outbreak. This was probably a plot by those tycoons. Heartbroken, she left. She didn't leave with the others. She drove off in the opposite direction instead. A few days later, Wilson tracked Ede down using the envelope's address. He was certain she would be at home waiting. Ede weeps while looking at her mother's photo. She gets the recording from her eating with the tycoon. Her fake eye covertly taped the talk. She's certain the tycoon's conspiracy will come to light. Ede stays in the quarantine zone in the end. With Sol's severed head in hand, she walks into the camp. This place still operates by the rule of might. Ede ascends as the quarantine's own new sovereign. This concludes our tale of Doomsday Invasion. Like this, keep following for more. See you next time.